breaking news has come in. You'll have to inform me. But it looked to be a workplace violence or workplace shooting type situation. The individual reportedly, at least last I heard, shot from the conference room. So it doesn't look like a bank robbery gone amok or gone awry. We'll keep you updated with the latest information on that. Then we have the Bullhorn Trio. It is no longer about the death of 6 people in Nashville, Tennessee. Sadly, the media has decided that narrative doesn't suit them. It is not enough, apparently, for the mainstream media to go back to the same old song and dance about attacking the Second Amendment of the Constitution, pretending that guns can kill people without an evil heart pulling the trigger. Apparently, that's not enough. And so they've completely dispatched of that narrative. They have dispatched of actually having a discussion about the heroes of the day, which were the police officers. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe it's the case that the police officers have declined the invitation. But I don't recall the 2 police officers that eliminated the evil terroristic threat that existed at the Covenant School 2 weeks ago Monday. I don't recall either of those police officers being on Good Morning America. However, I wake up and I do not watch Good Morning America, but on my Twitter feed, here it pops up. Bling, 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 bling. Look, I don't call them the Tennessee 3 because I think that gives them a little too much. I call them the Bullhorn Trio because it really hits more to the heart of what they did and the action that they took in order to get expelled, at least 2 of them, from the Tennessee legislature. We will go over some of those details again because the mainstream media seems to not want to. We will actually talk about that again because the mainstream media wants to ignore the actions taken by the individuals in question as to why they were expelled from the Tennessee legislature. The media actually, the media ignores the story to the point that there are people in this country that believe that they were expelled because they're black. It is a sad state of journalism. Journalism is not dead, but it sure as hell is on life support. And that is sad. So we'll delve into that today. Take your thoughts on it. We are at the epicenter of all of this, so we have knowledge and information that others do not. And sadly, it does not seem as if journalists, so-called, in the United States of America are at all concerned with telling the real story. The real story being that 3 individuals knowingly chose to violate the rules of the Tennessee legislature for the purpose of getting arrested. They wanted to be arrested. Justin Jones is on record saying that he wanted to be expelled from the body. Now, before I get too far away from it, for those of you listening during the day who aren't able to listen in the afternoon, I wasn't here Thursday and Friday because I was filling in for the one and only Brian Wilson and The Drive on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. And so I had some folks filling in for me, and I thank them for that. So I've not been able to say this in this slot, but if you were listening Friday afternoon, you know that we had 2 of the individuals voting in question of whether or not to expel the membership, and one, the final interview of our day on Friday. If you've not heard it, go to the podcast section, 997WTN.com. You can also find it on any of the Talk TV feeds, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, where Brian Ritchie, a representative from, not Maryville, I think it is Maryville, Blount County, said, well, I didn't vote to expel Johnson and I didn't vote to expel Justin Jones. I voted to expel, Justin Pearson. I did vote to expel Justin Jones, but I did that only because I was honoring his request. This is a Republican. What do you mean you were honoring his request? Oh, yeah, he told me he wanted to be expelled because the the Metro Council of Nashville already told him they were going to reappoint him. And they will today. I expect, although the rules are murky on this, I have dug into the rules of the Metro Council, and according to their rules, they would have to suspend the rules in order to vote to reappoint Justin Jones today. And the question is whether or not you have a couple of courageous individuals on the council that could potentially prevent the suspension of the rules so they wouldn't get to that vote. When they get to the vote, it's a simple majority, and they will revote Justin Jones back into office. And we now know, I had Cameron Sexton on the show on Brian's show Friday. And I asked him whether or not the Tennessee legislature would seat Justin Jones or Justin Pearson after they have been voted to be expelled if they are reappointed by their individual county commissions. Cameron Sexton told me at the time that the legislature was looking into the law and looking into whether or not they had any authority not to seat them. We now know, based on background information that I've gotten over the weekend, and apparently this came from an advice or a piece of advice. You know, oftentimes you go to your attorney general for it's called an attorney general's opinion, and it is just that. But you go to the, kind of the people's lawyer in the state of Tennessee and say, hey, what do you see the law says about this, and what can we do about it? And apparently the legislature has done that with the AG's office, and the AG's office has told the legislature that they do not have the authority not to seat someone who is recertified in a special appointment or reelected in a special election. All right, so I want to get a little backstory in here for those who might have missed it. I know maybe some of you are out of town during Easter week, or maybe you just need to be caught back up as to what all shook out. It's quite simple. In the aftermath of the Covenant School shooting, 3 Tennessee legislators decided to put themselves in front of the victims, to make themselves the centers of attention, as opposed to the victims and the heroes of that day. And without any suggestion that they had a piece of legislation in their hands, because the nonsense being regurgitated and puked up on national media is simple. Oh, they tried to do something about gun control, and they were shut down by these Second Amendment rabble-rousers in the Tennessee, these racists in the Tennessee legislature. All right. What bill was Gloria and the 2 Justins, what were they promoting last week? I'll wait. What piece of legislation did they want passed that wasn't passed last week? What piece of legislation did they have in their hands saying, I demand to be recognized so I can present this piece of legislation to the floor? I mean, forget the fact that that's not the way it's done, right? Forget the fact that you present legislation, it goes through committees, it gets committee assigned, you debate it in the committee. I mean, forget all of those details. Where was the bill? The bill was non-existent. They did not have one. They did not have a legitimate conversation point. They did not have a debatable point to bring up, regardless of whether they were out of order or not. But they were out of order. So all of this nonsense about they wouldn't allow the opposition to speak, the minority to speak. Speak about what? About what? You had no legislation to present before the body. What did Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, and Justin Pearson want? Outside of, let me just move aside for a moment and get my ego out of the way and say, okay, let's say that it's not about ego, which it was. Let's say it wasn't about making themselves the center of attention, which it was. Let's say it wasn't about moving away from the Covenant 6 that died that day and focusing on the Tennessee 3 who politically put their lives on the line. Just tell me what they wanted. What was the goal of taking over the well? I'll wait. What was the goal? They wanted their voices heard. They wanted to draw attention to a very important piece of gun legislation that the rest of the Tennessee legislature wouldn't bring up. What? No, I think they've accomplished their goal, which circles back to last week. We know each other relatively a short amount of time in in the broad spectrum of doing this job and getting to know one another and you getting to trust me and me getting to know you. But I hope you've gotten to trust me and know me over the 16 months that I've had the honor of being on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN from noon until 3. It is a relative rarity that I kind of go back and forth on issues. I examine an issue. I have what I hope to be the courage of my core convictions to rely on. I default to libertarianism because I default to individual freedoms and liberty every single time anything political comes up. And sometimes that question is a little harder than you might think. I've got a story later on about a Tennessee farmer that's being forced to give up his Tennessee farmland for big corporations, and the Republicans are allowing it to happen in the state of Tennessee. So this is a nonpartisan deal with me. But on this very, very political issue as to what to do with these individuals that exploited the kindness of the body in the Tennessee legislature, who broke the rules, who were in clear violation of the rules, and yes, very much were candidates for expulsion. And you regular listeners, you P1 listeners know this. That at first, I said expelling them is giving them exactly what they want. Because it's going to come to no good end. You're not going to have them permanently removed, and you're going to raise the level of their profile to the point of making them martyrs. I said that last Tuesday. That's looking like a pretty good prediction today, isn't it? In the aftermath of that, after talking with Speaker Cameron Sexton, after having conversations with a variety of members of the body, after seeing video of the floor speeches being delivered directly prior to the interruption itself, and the melee that happened afterwards, after examining evidence as to how if the gallery and if the individuals in the rotunda had not been measured, it could have ended up in violence. I mean, literally. I came around to the idea of expelling these individuals. I could see the point. Regardless of the consequences, regardless of what may come in the aftermath of expulsion, sometimes you have to do the right thing, even though it will come to little or no result. As I sit here today at 12:18, I still don't know the answer. I don't, but I know this. My prediction has come true. That all three of these individuals, now I didn't foresee that Gloria Johnson would survive the expulsion vote, and that's another side story for another day, or maybe even later today. But as predicted, and I'm not calling myself Nostradamus or whatever, but as predicted by me, all of them will be back into the legislature before all is said and done. After they're done with their media tour, after they're finished on Good Morning America, waving and smiling. I posted a photograph on my Twitter feed. There's a still shot of the three of these individuals on Good Morning America this morning, or right before they went on Good Morning America. And without being overly dramatic, I want you to go to my Twitter feed, at Matt Murphy Show, and I want you to find this photo. It's right down there in the feed, and I want you to look at it. And I want you to tell me if these are three people that give one damn about gun control. I want you to tell me if these are three people that give one damn about the three kids that got killed in a school 2 weeks ago at Covenant School. I want you to tell me if this is all about them or all about the Covenant Six. Because all we're talking about is how racist Tennessee is and how awful it was that they got the boot. We're not talking about why they got the boot, because to do that would be to lay a dose of reality on top of this crap show that's going on nationally in the mainstream media, not telling America the truth about what happened in Nashville, Tennessee. In the meantime, we barely got bodies in the ground. In the meantime, a school safety bill was passed this past Friday, or Thursday, pardon me. before we began the expulsion proceedings, a school safety bill was passed, offering additional resources to every public school in the state of Tennessee. And guess who voted against that? Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, and Justin Pearson. There is no rational excuse for voting against it. Yet they did. And they're being held as heroes. I, for one, am done with people like Justin Jones and Justin Pearson deciding to use the color of their skin as a bludgeon against other people and as a way out of the illogic and non-compassion of their political arguments. You come at me with a political argument, or you don't come at all. And I would love to hear your political argument today. There's more going on. We have celebrity elitists that don't understand Second Amendment issues as an offshoot of this. I want to talk a little about Bud Light later on, which is almost comical at this stage. Why is Joe Biden sending Jill to the King's coronation ceremonies? I've got that question on the docket today, and we'll talk more about this Kentucky shooting coming up next. It is SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. It is a crazy, it is a dangerous world, and friends, you've got to be prepared, and that includes making sure that you protect those things that protect the loved ones in your home. I'm talking about protecting those weapons with a quality safe from the Safe House. It has just been announced, and I'm excited. In less than a month, I'm doing a broadcast at the Safe House. That's right, Nashville Safe House. Amongst all of the safes, there will be Matt Murphy along with Mark and others, and we'll be doing that broadcast together, and I'm going to invite you to come out and see us at the Safe House. We'll be amongst the best, finest collection of safes from the brand names that you know and trust, like Browning, Fort Knox, and Liberty, all available to you at Nashville's Safe House. Plus, safes are still sales tax free, and more than just gun safes, they have corporate safes, they have jewelry safes, anything for your budget or any need that you might have, they've got them at the Safe House. Go see for yourself at 4th Avenue South in Nashville or online at NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Tell Mark I sent you to Nashville's Safe House. It is SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show in progress until 3 o'clock. Brian Wilson back with the drive this afternoon. I know are we going with, I know what I've always gone with. Can I hear from the Super Text line, people? Is it chomping or champing? What do you got?
Yeah, get Brian involved on that one next time. He loves to argue about that one. Yeah.
By the way, I haven't mentioned that Chris Webber is with us in the house. I had 2 days of Webber last week, and I got another day today. That's nice.
I don't know if I can take much more of it.
Well, imagine how my wife feels. All right, so Webber's here till 3, and then he's on with the drive, producing capably, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. Where are you? I have no idea where Wilson is. Where are you on the?
I have always said and heard, I guess, chomping.
I have too.
I've heard the champing, but to me, it just sounds wrong. Chomping sounds right. You got to chomp on that bit.
I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
But, is there a champing contingent? The way that you're talking about this, I feel like Wilson is in camp champ.
Firmly in camp champ.
Yeah. I don't understand how that works. Is there a verb that I'm aware of? I'm unaware of, rather?
Champing. Champ means... I don't even know what that word means. What is that?
Give it to me. I'm telling you.
It wasn't talking about the word. It's talking about the, what is it? Words have different, like you have verbs and nouns and adverbs.
Right.
There's a whatever that's called.
No, I've got
it. It's a gerund, apparently.
Last time I dealt with
I'd forgotten all about that.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Don't even talk to it. That brings up really bad. That was Latin 104, gerunds and gerundives. I almost did not graduate college because of gerunds and gerundives in Latin.
Well, I didn't graduate college, so.
Well, there you have it. Well, we're both Georgia boys, so, barely and didn't are, that's pretty par for the course for us. Champ. This is what I have for Oxford Dictionary. Champ. Verb. Another term for chomp.
I have seen that, yes. But it does say, that I found this on Merriam-Webster, to make biting or gnashing movements.
I.e. a horse champing its bit.
Yeah. To show impatience of delay or restraint.
Now, to chomp is of a horse make a noisy, biting, or chewing action. It's one of those stupid instances where either is correct.
Yes.
Or either is correct.
That too.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Well, one way or the other, chomping or champing, I know that Brian Wilson can't wait to get back on air, particularly as to what happened later on in the week. Last week, he was out visiting with family and friends and for the Good Friday holiday. So we are champing and chomping to get your telephone calls, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. As far as I can tell, I work with people, and as far as I can tell, they're not buying what the Tennessee 3 imbeciles are selling. 5604. Okay, I was going to go to the super text line to talk about a few matters involving the Bullhorn Trio, as I call them, but everyone is weighing in on champing or chomping right now. So, horses chomp, says 5604. John, of course it's chomping. 7536. Equally as confident, it's champing, as a horse does on his bit. Mike, linguistically speaking, champing is the correct term in the English language. What if we are speaking unlinguistically?
But when they mean the same thing, does it really matter, though?
No, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
I don't think it does. So Brian always says champing at the bit.
He does.
Well, Murphy's going to say chomping at the bit just because I want to fight. But yeah, Brian and I haven't had a good fight yet. It's almost a year and a half now.
Yeah.
We need a good.
Just get him going on that and winding versus winding.
It's winding road.
Like when something like a bill, for instance, is making its way.
It's winding its way.
It's winding. That's his assertion. And he's very passionate about that one.
That's good.
Just stick that in your back pocket.
To whip that out when I'm trying to divert attention away from a Murphy mistake. Yeah. You just whip that one out and so divert his eyes over there. Look at this. Look at this. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. All right, Lindsay, we'll get to you. Jesse, you too. We'll crank them up on the telephone line, 615-737-9986. So it's no longer, sadly, according to the national media, about the death of 6 people. It is about the actions of 3. There is a call to action today, as a matter of fact. The Democrats, the liberals in Nashville and the surrounding communities have put out a call to action that you head on out to the Metro Plaza at 3:30 this afternoon. I thought, for most of us, a call to action on a Monday is like going to work, right? That's what we would do.
Yeah.
Once again, I go back and forth on this issue, but I'm telling you, the prediction is coming true that all three of these individuals will remain in their post in the Tennessee legislature. Their profiles have been raised beyond their ability to perform. And I think that will be demonstrated. I do not believe that this accomplishes its goal. If the goal by making the point, even if you understood, if you were in leadership, that the Bullhorn trio would be reseated eventually, because you're raising the profile to the point that people are going to go out in droves in a special election and vote for Justin Jones. Sadly, as sad as that may be, and the same for Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson escaped expulsion altogether. And that's another point to be made that I made late on a Friday, and I want to reiterate. The 7 Republicans that voted in favor of expulsion, there's varying numbers because some of them voted present. I think Brian Ritchie, who I spoke with late on Friday, voted against expulsion for 2 of them and voted in favor of expulsion for 1. But regardless of the number, the 6 or 7 Republicans that voted against expelling Gloria Johnson, I had one of them on, Jody Barrett. He's a freshman lawmaker out of Dixon. And he said to me, well, Matt, I didn't feel like her actions rose to the level of expulsion. I did my best to try to give all of them the benefit of the doubt, and she was the only one that I could give the benefit of the doubt to, and she brought lawyers to the floor, and that was important to me, and yada, yada, yada. And for all of his troubles, what did she do in return? As soon as she escaped expulsion, she went to the rotunda and spoke to the assembled media and explained to the assembled media why the only reason she escaped expulsion was because the members of the body were racist. Particularly the 7 that voted against her expulsion and in favor of the expulsion of the other 2. Not 5 minutes after they voted to keep her, she thanked them by calling them all racists. Justin Jones called an Indian American the brown face of white supremacy. You don't hear any reporting about that. The same Justin Jones is lying to the national news media, claiming that he was called on the floor of the body, quoting him now, an uppity Negro, end quote. No evidence that this is true. He is besmirching the other members of the body, lying about them, and he's getting famous in the process. It's, oh man, it's late. It's 12:33 on SuperTalk. You know what? The level of my wife's food game, I thought it couldn't go up any. But it has demonstrated, she has demonstrated over these last several weeks that the food game can be elevated with the right spices, and we now have them in our cupboard. Thank you to Savory Spice. Savory Spice is a locally owned spice company. They do so much more. They do salts, they do spices, they do blends, they do incredible things with mixtures that are ready and available for you to make cooking so easy. I talk about the Sunday pot roast all the time. Absolutely delightful. My wife made salmon with the citrus herb on the salmon. So good. I'm telling you, you already up your food game, right? You want to buy a better cut of meat if you're grilling out. You want to buy a nicer cut of salmon or steak or the better vegetables. Don't get them from the off-brand. Get the good brands. But then you go back to the same old spices. You're not doing it right. You need to up that spice game with Savory Spice. 2 locations to serve you right there in downtown Franklin off the square. Go see them and tell them I said hello. Or at the L&L Market right in Nashville on Charlotte Pike. And when you do, up that spice game, elevate it by saying, Murphy sent me to Savory Spice.
One of the big words being thrown around in the investing world right now is this one. You may have heard it. Fiduciary. The idea that the investment advisor has to keep your interest first when they give advice. Now, it's being used in a marketing sense right now, and one of the things that I found fascinating, there was a study by the University of Southern California and Indiana University. They looked at investment advisor portfolios and they found that they were making basic academic mistakes in the management of their own portfolios. And the question that they asked was, if they can't even keep their own best interest first, how are they going to keep your best interest first? That was the question. Now, one of the things that we do at Paul Winkler Inc. is every one of our offices, 10 offices, is run by a degreed planner, number one. But we go way beyond the call of duty when it comes to fiduciary and making sure that we're using academically sound principles in investing. Evidence-based. In other words, it's backed by a lot of this is backed by Nobel Prize winning research. To learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN 1238. Matt Murphy and you until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you for being with us. Information-fueled and opinion-driven all day long, starting with Dan Mandis early in the mornings. Man, Des Dickerson did a great job today from 9 until noon, noon until 3. That's me. I guess I should know my time. And Brian Wilson from 3 until 7, champing or chomping at the bit, depending on your point of view. You are chomping at the bit as well, and I'll go to you as promised to get your thoughts on the aftermath of the expulsion of 2 out of the 3. It's Jesse's turn in Hendersonville. Jesse, thank you for your call.
Hi, yes. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm a veteran, and most importantly, I'm a Christian. I recently moved here from the state of Maryland about 8 months ago, and I just want to say this is not about gun control at all. This is about changing the state of Tennessee. Tennessee is attracting people from all over the world, and they want to change the values of the state of Tennessee. They want to change the values on abortion. They want to change the values on transgender laws, and they want to change the gun control laws. And they figure that if they change Tennessee, then they would be able to go into other red states. This is what this is all about. And the other thing is I attended a church on yesterday. I don't know anyone here in Tennessee, but I attended church on yesterday. It happened to be predominantly black, and the pastor was black. And seemed like a good church. Sitting there, the first thing he starts out with is on what's happening here and supporting the 3 lawmakers. So I'm like, okay. And then he goes on to that, but then I learned while I'm sitting there that he encourages members to bring guns to the church for protection. And you see members walking around with guns. And I'm saying to myself, oh, wait a minute. You're for gun control, but you want to take advantage of the rights of the state of Tennessee. I'm like, what on earth? I'm sorry.
Well, Miss Jessie, let me ask you this. When you say that the purpose behind all of this is to change the values and change these the thought patterns, is that why you moved here, or why did you move to Tennessee? I'm curious.
Well, I recently moved here. I love my state, to be honest with you. We had a Republican governor up until before I left, but he's moderate. He's a moderate, but still. But I moved here. I've been wanting to move for the last 20 years just for adventure, and I found a church, a conservative church, during COVID 2020, and I fell in love with the church online, and that's the reason I moved to Tennessee, because I was getting squashed. I come from a large family in the state of Maryland, very successful, about 14 of us, and we are all over the state of Maryland, and I was the only conservative in the entire clan. So that was really, really hard.
Do you think it's still possible? And this is a personal question, but I'm curious. You identified yourself as a registered Democrat. Obviously, there's not party registration in the state of Tennessee, but I mean, do you think it's possible to be a moderate or even a conservative Democrat in this day and age?
No, it's not. There used to be such thing as blue dog Democrats, as you know. But that's not the case anymore. And I just feel in my heart of hearts, I'm hoping these Republican lawmakers can hold the line, man, because this is not about gun control. This is about controlling Tennessee. This is what this is about. Tennessee is a very attractive state. And I've met so many people from California that are moving here. Those Californians are moving here to get away from what they were dealing with in California. So who wants to come to Tennessee and deal with the same thing? So this is not about gun control, and I just hope you keep preaching. I hope you keep teaching. I hope you stay strong, bold, in the face of the enemy. Just keep going, man. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Jesse, thank you so much for the telephone call, and I think Jesse is dead on. This is not about any singular issue. It's not about any singular piece of legislation. It is about an attempt. And it's not just in Tennessee. We see it nationwide. An attempt to convince you, as ridiculous as this sounds, that your personal values, your basic core convictions are wrong. That if you continue to hold those convictions dear, that if you continue to believe that there are only two sexes of people, I'll use this as an example. A broad swath of the political left is attempting to convince you that if you hold true to your belief that there are only two sexes, male and female, that you are a bigot, that you are worse than Archie Bunker, that you are wrong-minded, that you are phobic, whatever it is, trans, whatever. Think about that for a minute. There are people in the state of Tennessee that want you to believe that if your understanding of basic science and biology compels you to suggest that anything beyond male or female at birth is an abnormal condition, and you're a bigot. Jesse knows how it is, because Jesse watched, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, Miss Jesse watched a purple state just lurch blue like that overnight, baby. And that's what they try to do to the state of Tennessee. It's about more than just state control of guns. It's about controlling your mind. I do not believe that that's overstating the case. It is not gun control. It is people control that the political left wants. And the mainstream media is culpable. There was a time when I believed the hashtag never CNNs of the world and all of these other mainstream national networks were just useful idiots. They were ideologues that did not see life differently than their bubbles in New York and Washington, D.C., and so they did not know any better. They know better about this. And if I sound angry, it's because I am. We're sitting in the epicenter. Has there been equitable representation on the mainstream networks? Did anyone see Cameron Sexton on Meet the Press over the weekend? Now, maybe he was invited. I don't know. Frankly, I didn't watch the claptrap. Because there's nothing about the realities of what happened last week. If this were about gun control, there's a way to do it. They don't want to follow the rules of democracy. The very democracy that they claim Republicans are destroying, they themselves are attempting to destroy. What did they want? Once again, I go back to this very simple question. What did these three people want? What did they want? So, can someone answer the question? They start screaming and yelling. They're on different business in the floor of the House of Representatives. They start yelling. They interrupt the proceedings. Let's say, for example, and this never would have happened because it would destroy the rule of law and democracy itself. But let's say everybody backed up and gave them what they want. What did they want? They didn't have a bill on the floor. They didn't have a bill to present on the floor. What they claimed to want was to occupy the House of Representatives. For what? To get what we want, gun control. Where's the bill? What did they want? They wanted to circumvent the rule of law. They wanted to accomplish their goals without equitable representation. What is the House of Representatives but not a body representing the totality of the population of the state of Tennessee? People voted Republicans into office. They did not assert their domination in individual fiefdoms around the state of Tennessee and then make their way to Nashville as a result. They were elected just like you jackasses. Pardon me. Jackholes. My apologies. I try to use better language, especially during the lunchtime hour. Everyone in that body was elected by someone, by a group of people. That is what democracy looks like. That is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Yes. You know what democracy doesn't look like? Three individuals taking over a body of almost 100 for their own goals, and I don't even know what those goals were, except to make it about themselves. Here's the reality. They've accomplished what their goals were. And it has nothing to do with 6 people who were killed 2 weeks ago today. Nothing. And it certainly has nothing to do with the safety of our school students. Oh, I just posted something up on my Twitter feed. You guys should go look at it. It's all about the Covenant 6. Justin Jones got to sing with Joan Baez at the Nashville airport. So isn't that great? Hey, she approached us. And, woo! We party at the airport. We're heading to New York City to be on Good Morning America. Woohoo! Yippity-doo! There's still funerals going on. There's still funerals going on. You would be ashamed of yourself if you had any. It's 12:49. Sean will get to... Well, let me get to Lindsay real quick.
Disgusting.
Hey, Lindsay, how are you? You talking to yourself over there?
Hi, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Thank you. Matt Murphy, you're not allowed to call yourself new anymore.
Okay, no more. No more new.
And I predicted it 2 more days before you said it, because you said it yesterday. Yeah, we were going to talk about the decorum.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love all of you guys.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question, Lindsay, before we go any further? Because I think I heard you try to call Des Dickerson toward the end of his show, and he had a question.
I did.
He had a question, and I want to ask you too. Where is Pleasant Shade?
Yes. Well, it's about between Red Boiling Springs and Carthage.
Oh. You got a Boiling Springs over there?
Red Boiling Springs is 20 miles above me, and Carthage is 30 miles down from me. I'm down here in a holler. And I've listened. I miss Uncle Phil. And I'm welcoming you. I have for years. And Des, and yeah, you're not new anymore. You're a Nashvilleian.
Well, I'll take it. Yeah. Dan's such a lovable little creature. I'm gonna rub his head for you the next time I see him. Okay, Lindsay? All right. Lindsay, I hate to do it, but I got to go. I appreciate the kind words and the support, and I take that under advisement that I'm not allowed to call myself new anymore. It's 12:51 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. You know, it's getting to a point where I'm not allowed to admonish you that it's time to get maintenance done on your AC because we're well into spring, and before you know it, summer's along. And you know, the last thing I want to happen is for you to not take my advice and get Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling over to your place to check it all out, and you don't do that, and the thing goes kaput when it's 95 degrees outside, and then what do you do? Well, I mean, Jeff will get to you as quickly as he possibly can, but you could avoid any and all of this with a simple maintenance check with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Here comes Jeff Eddy or one of his fine technicians, and he will never charge you for a maintenance visit at a residence over $125, and oftentimes it is well less than that. He puts a cap at $125 no matter how many units you have. I mean, in some homes that he services, you've got 3 or even 4 units on that residence. So now's the time to avoid the high cost of replacing. It's time to get maintenance with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Plus, when it does come time, they have free financing available to you, and they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. EfficientHVAC.net is the website. EfficientHVAC.net or 615-784-4424. 784-4424. Call today. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, almost down with hour number 1. It is a ridiculously manic Monday on the Matt Murphy Show on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. By the way, for you golf fans out there, congratulations to Jon Rahm. I enjoyed some of the Masters yesterday and even the day before. It looked like Mother Nature was going to win the green jacket for just a moment there on Saturday, but eventually they got everything right. Did you see that video of those trees going down?
I just saw the picture of it down. I didn't see the video.
There's a video out there of the trees actually falling. The trees actually, I mean, it was during the round.
Oh, wow.
It was the reason that they eventually suspended play on Friday, I guess, where those trees actually hit chairs where patrons were sitting.
Scary.
I mean, that is scary. And they said, yeah, we're going to clean all of this up and let Mother Nature win the day today. But anyway, Jon Rahm eventually won the tournament, and I'm just thankful that none of those live golfers won. Yeah. Yucky. Saudi tour? No good. Jon Rahm, good Spaniard man. All right, 2 more hours to go. We'll get to more of your telephone calls. Plus, I'll give you an update on the Kentucky shooting and an update on Bud Light. Apparently, Bud Light not saying much these days. It's the Matt Murphy Show on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
From ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. As of today, there have been 15 mass shootings across the country just this month. The latest this morning in Louisville, Kentucky, when a man armed with a long gun opened fire at a bank before it opened for business. 5 people are dead.
They know the shooter is dead. They're working to determine whether by his own hand or whether he was shot and killed by responding police officers. They credit some of the officers that were there within 3 minutes of the shooter opening fire in this first floor conference room of the bank in downtown Louisville with saving additional lives. We had heard that people were taking cover in the bank vault and elsewhere, and they had to do a search to make sure it was clear of both victims. And of course, they always look to see whether there is an additional shooter, but it's believed this one did act alone.
ABC's Aaron Katersky. At least one of the 2 expelled state lawmakers in Tennessee could soon be a step closer to getting his job back. The Nashville Metro Council is expected to vote this afternoon whether to reinstate Democrat Justin Jones. He and Justin Pearson were expelled by the chamber's Republican supermajority for leading gun control protests from the House floor last week. More states are taking steps to stock up on mifepristone before a ruling from a Texas judge is expected to take effect to ban the abortion pill. Massachusetts is the latest.
Right now, we have 36 states plus the District of Columbia where people can purchase these pills or get them prescribed by a healthcare provider. Now, all of that could change by Friday. That's when this judge's ruling is supposed to take effect, unless the higher courts, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, weighs in on this and provides the government emergency relief.
ABC's Ann Flaherty. For the first time in its more than 250-year history, professors at Rutgers University are on strike, and it leaves students like sophomore Freddie Ramos to teach themselves.
It seems kind of like fun to have a strike, like a day off, but not really, because you still have to study, you still have to catch up on assignments.
You're listening to ABC News.
The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been here for well over 3 decades, helping people just like you. At least if you have back pain, neck pain, knee pain, or any pain in your joints, it's time to get to the Dr. Gill Center. Let's talk about it because yours truly, Matt Murphy, I've been there. I've had the pain in my upper neck and I had the pain in my lower back simultaneous, and it is a nightmare. I was popping Advil and Aleve, trying to alleviate some of the pain, and, I just got sick and tired of being, pain. I wanted to be pain-free. So I called the Dr. Gill Center. One of the first things I did, Dr. Wendy met with me, and for less than $50, we went through the entire examination process. She gave me x-rays. She walked me through a schedule of success, identified a compression in my upper neck that I didn't know existed. And before you know it, I was pain-free in my upper neck, and I'm well on my way of being pain-free in my lower back. That's what it's all about at the Dr. Gill Center. Make the call that so many others have made. Literally tens of thousands of people just like you, maybe even hundreds of thousands over the years, have been helped with the Dr. Gill Center. 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838. Located in Franklin, within the sound of my voice, tell them I sent you to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. May I remind you that I hope you had a wonderful and happy Easter. Hope all of you got a chance to decompress over the holiday weekend. Some are off today, it's my understanding, and it's 1:06. We are not. We're here till 3. Brian Wilson starts then. It is Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. You can also catch us, I now get to say, as always, on SuperTalk TV, located on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. One of those platforms, you type in SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, and you will no doubt find us, and we invite you to be there. I don't know why you would want to look at me do a radio show, but many of you do, and for that I am you get to see me do things that I don't do on the radio. Like, for example.
You don't get to see anything you do on the radio.
Well, that's true, but I I could give you I stopped myself. I started to give the TV audience one of these, but I shouldn't do that, right? So
I just did.
So no, I didn't. I was showing you what I thought about doing. No, it's different. I didn't say it. I thought about saying it. I told you that I thought about saying it, but I didn't really do it. Chris Weber's behind the glass. Hey, Chris.
Hi there.
Did you have a good Easter?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Spent some time outside, man.
Yesterday was
gorgeous.
Yeah, Saturday was kind of misty and dreary.
Yeah, it was kind of yuck.
Just yuck. Yeah. But yesterday was tip top. It was nice. I spent time cutting the grass.
Oh,
outside.
fun.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
I did that this morning.
And so now I'm paying for it with the. Do you get the allergies?
A little bit, yeah. Not terrible like I used to, but not so bad anymore.
I am. I've said this for a number of years now that I'm a strong example of how if you say something long enough and loud enough that, call it what you will, call it God, call it karma, but you will be smote.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been smited or smote because I laughed at people without. It's like, come on, suck it up, butter. People say, oh, man, these allergies. I'm like, whatever. What do you got, a sniffle? Come on, pal.
Yeah.
And then about 10 years ago, God hath smote me with the allergies. And he was like, okay, you try it on for size, see how you like it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, Lord.
I got lucky. Mine got better when I moved to Tennessee.
Did they?
From Georgia, yeah. I think a lot of mine was pine pollen. And we don't have a lot of pine trees here, so.
That is true, and that's one of the advantages of living in Tennessee, the lack of pine trees. But mine, for whatever reason, this year worse than last year worse than, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the relocation, so we'll see. All right, lots to get into. Obviously, the first hour we've spent talking about the Bullhorn Trio and where we go from here, and I want to move to that side of it because, as I mentioned last week, my fear was you're elevating and turning martyrs into these voices that do not deserve it, which is what has happened. And I understand fully, and you know what? In a lot of ways, support the idea of, well, they violated multiple rules, and I don't have to go over all of the rules that they violated. You have to be recognized in order to speak on the floor of the House. They were not. You have to be recognized to approach the well. They were not. You can't take over the well and encourage individuals to occupy the body, and they did. And on and on and on it went. I mean, the violation of the rules is not in dispute even for those who were expelled. The question now is what happens next? Cameron Sexton was on our show, or actually on Brian Wilson's show as I subbed in for Brian Friday. And he gave his thoughts on the matter, explaining that the legal team was looking into whether or not they would need to or have to, per law, seat Justin Jones or Justin Pearson, should they be reappointed by their individual county commissions. The Metro Council in Nashville meeting this afternoon, sometime around 4 o'clock, thereabouts, to decide whether or not they will reseat Justin Jones. Now, a majority of that body has already indicated that they will vote for Justin Jones to go back to the House of Representatives. The question is whether or not they have enough votes to suspend the rules in order to make that vote happen today. It's my understanding they have to suspend rules, and there can be several voices. It doesn't have to be a majority, but if enough people quag up the suspension of the rules, they will not be able to vote on this today. There are some, I think there was an op-ed in the Tennessee Star by Michael Patrick Leahy indicating that he did not believe that these individuals needed to be seated. The question is about the language of Article 2 of the Tennessee Constitution, and I did a bit of sleuthing yesterday. And Article 2, Section 15 of the Tennessee Constitution indicates that when a seat of any member of the either house becomes vacant, the vacancy shall be filled. Obviously, there's a special election if there's more than 12 months remaining, and that is the case. And then it is also the prerogative of the county of residence at the time of his or her election that they may elect an interim successor to serve until the election, the special election. And that individual is indicated as a successor. And it's Leahy's argument that a successor cannot be the same person. I understand the argument, but I don't think this is going anywhere. So you're just going to continue to elevate Justin Jones. I mean, the man's going back into the body. I know you don't want him to, and I don't want him to either. And I look forward to the Tennessee legislature making more plain the rules on disorderly behavior in the floor of the House of Representatives in the future. I would look forward to the Tennessee legislature considering a constitutional rewrite with regard to individuals that have been expelled from the body, and maybe creating a barrier between that expulsion and people being able to reelect them to the body. That is and should be under consideration for the Tennessee Constitution for the Tennessee legislature to consider. But all you're doing is dragging out the inevitable at this point. If your argument is, and I understand it, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, if the argument is that you cannot appoint a successor because by definition a successor can't be the same person, that is a legal argument that will be decided in a court of law. So here's the way that happens in reality. So the Metro Council, no doubt at the time in which they vote, they're voting for Justin Jones. I think that's sad. I think he is an embarrassment to the state of Tennessee. He's consistently been an embarrassment to the state of Tennessee, even for Democrats in the state of Tennessee. You ought to be embarrassed. Had you any shame. The Metro Council will vote for this guy to go back into office. If the Tennessee legislature refuses to seat him, there will be another week of negative stories. I don't really care about that, but I'm just telling you what's going to happen, okay? I'm not focusing on it, but know that just like they have completely mischaracterized what's going on in the state of Tennessee over the last week and continue to ignore the Covenant 6 and those heroes that saved so many more by focusing on this angle of racism and whatnot, they've done it in the past. They'll do it again. So you refuse to seat Justin Jones if he's voted for re-election. Now, Cameron Sexton, by the way, has already said privately that he has gotten advice from the Attorney General that they've got to let him get seated. If the argument hinges on the word successor, then you will have the city of Nashville, which is ripe for a fight. Now, understand some of the background here. Nashville wants a fight with the legislature that it can win, because Nashville's been on the losing end the last couple of months at the hands of the Tennessee legislature. Remember, the Tennessee legislature, after the Metro Council decided not to have the RNC, the legislature decided, well, that's all well and good. We think you might have 1 or 2 or 3 or 20 too many counselors, so we're going to limit your ability to have more than 20 counselors in the future. And they're currently rewriting or redrawing district lines, and they have to go through all of that rigmarole in order to shrink the council from 40 to 20, which they're also suing concurrently with doing that, and they're going to lose that lawsuit, and they know it. So the Metro Council is ripe for a fight with the Tennessee legislature. So here's how it works. They suspend the rules if able, and they might not be able. That's actually your best chance of averting all of this for several weeks. And then at such time that they do hold a vote, they'll elect Justin Jones to be appointed until such time that they can hold a special election. Let's say the Tennessee legislature agrees with Leahy and some others that, well, successor indicates it's a different person, so we're not going to seat Justin Jones. Metro Nashville will immediately file suit against the state of Tennessee. They'll file a stay in order to seat Jones while the matter is being decided in a court of law. The state of Tennessee then spends a lot of money, as does the Metro Council, fighting this out in court, and before it even reaches its conclusion, my prediction, before it even reaches its conclusion, you'll have the special election by which all of these dunderhead Democrats will go to the polls and elect Justin Jones anyway. Look, sometimes I have to be a dose of reality even if I don't like it. And the fact of the matter is, Justin Jones is going back to the House of Representatives, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the people in charge of the Tennessee legislative process that they knew this from the beginning. Because surely they did. Otherwise, you're expecting more from Democrat voters. And are you really expecting more from Democrat voters? So I am willing to have a robust debate about the word successor. But let me tell you something above and beyond that. It is the nature of the fragility of a representative republic that we allow stupid people to vote. It's better than the alternative. It is the nature of our representative republic that we have an expectation that voters go to the polls armed with truth. But it is also the nature of a representative republic that we cannot dictate how stupid people vote. And so, whether you call them ignorant, uninformed, or dumb, Nashville as a collective will go back to the polls whenever this special election is held. And it is, and hear me closely, and I hope you understand it, as sad as it is to say it, it is the nature of the United States of America. It is the nature of freedom. It is the nature of government devised by and decided by men and women that if he is reelected, you seat him. Now, if you want to change the rule of law, I'm all for it. But as the rules of the game are today, the man can get reelected and will. And we knew that last week, which is why I hesitated on agreeing with this expulsion, because it comes to no good end. You make martyrs out of people that don't deserve it. You turn them into champions of a cause that has not been clearly stated. And there's no real punishment as a result. As a matter of fact, as I said last hour, They said this is what they wanted. Justin Jones was telling Republicans to expel him, according to Brian Ritchie, a representative whose office is next door to his. He said, I voted to expel him because he told me he wanted me to. I was, quote, honoring his request, end quote. Now, forget the stupidity of that for a second. Jones knew. He knows the people that he's trying to appeal to don't have truth on their side or are too partisanly blind to understand it if they do. So it's not going to please you, but it is a fact that Pearson and Jones will be back in the legislature, and so be it. My solution at the beginning was you don't expel them, you just make them non-members by default. You don't recognize them. The speaker can only recognize people that the speaker sees. And the speaker's the only one that decides who he sees and who he doesn't. You see what I'm saying? You strip them from their committees, you take away their parking spaces and all the other privileges that they enjoy as members, and then you just make them non-people in the body. And they can scream and yell and gnash their teeth all they want about that. They wouldn't be doing it on Good Morning America, though. We'll get your thoughts on all of this. Plus, I promised a Kentucky update, and I'll give it to you next. It's 1:20 on SuperTalk. There is a one-stop shop for all things men's health, and it is Tennessee Men's Clinic. They were the first in Nashville to truly focus on men's health as a priority, and they are the best at what they do. And now, gentlemen, there's a location number 2. Have you noticed a lack of energy, motivation, or drive? Do you feel sluggish, run down? Do you feel like you're not that motivated for, I'm being as delicate as I can, gentlemen, bedroom activities? You know, it happens to a lot of men, especially in middle age, but it does not have to happen to you. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has successfully treated thousands of men for these types of issues. All you need to do is call the Tennessee Men's Clinic and set up an appointment today. If you've been feeling tired and or grumpy, noticed a weight gain or loss of muscle mass, if you don't feel like going to the gym, if you don't feel like going to the bedroom, except for sleep, well, it's time to get back to life, gentlemen, with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more. Did I mention 2 locations? One in downtown Nashville and the brand new location recently opened in Cool Springs. Stop by and see them and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Tennessee Men's Clinic. Here's the number to make that appointment, 615-208-9090, 208-9090 for Tennessee Men's Clinic. SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Early this morning, we heard of a shooting incident in Louisville, Kentucky. Obviously, on the heels of what occurred couple of weeks ago in down at the Covenant School in Nashville, we turn our thoughts and our prayers. Yes, our thoughts and our prayers. I'm not apologizing for saying that. I mean, can you imagine we've gotten to a place in society where people don't want to offer thoughts and prayers because these godless leftists have decided that they don't like it? Have we actually ceded that ground? Not me. Not ever. About 8:30 in the morning, prior to the bank opening, police say officers arrived at the Old National Bank on Main Street, not far from Louisville Slugger Field. They encountered an active shooter inside. Officers exchanged gunfire with the shooter, who police say appears to be an employee or a former employee of the bank. It is a workplace violence situation. Unclear if the shooter died from gunfire from the police or a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Either way, good news, he is DRT, as the Talkmaster Neil Bortz used to say. Dead right there. And that's great. Maybe on the heels of Easter Sunday, that shocked some of you that I would say that. When evil presents itself, when evil is eliminated, I am happy. And anyone who would shoot kids at the Covenant School, I'm glad that they, you know what? The quicker they can go and meet their final judgment, the better. The less money it costs us to send them to the highest authority, the better. That's my estimation. 8 people are currently being treated for wounds, or were currently being treated for wounds about an hour ago. That's the time of this update, including 2 police officers. 1 Louisville Metro Police Department officer was critically injured and was taken to the hospital. And I believe that officer has since died. I hold on, let me check on that. Because we have 5 who have died as a result of this apparent workplace violence. Terry is next up in Nashville. Terry, thank you for holding. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Well, I completely agree with everything you're saying. Life has rules. Everything has rules. But the Democrats don't seem to know how to play by the rules, and then they get a majority behind them because of all the things they say and do that we're racist and so forth. I've lived in Nashville all my life. I'm not racist, nor do I know anyone that's racist. And it makes me sick what's becoming and what people are standing up for, when half of them I don't even think they know what they're preaching on. And so where are our voices supposed to be heard other than the radio? If a group of someone like My Mind Opinion were to go downtown in a mass of what's happening, what would that turn into? I can only imagine. A shouting match or worse. And we're certainly not being put on TV. Thank God you are there and the others are there so that the people can hear that we are not the minority and our opinions do matter. But again, what can I do? Where can I say something other than on your platform or a tweet on Twitter? How far is that going to go?
Well, you know, it's a great question, Terry, and it's an important one because in times like these, it is often the case that voices like yours don't feel a call to action or don't have a direct call to action with regard to what's going on around them. You know, it's long been a question in my mind as to the difference. I mean, obviously the media plays everything differently. The media holds you to a higher standard, right? If you go in front of the state capitol and you do any shouting as a result of this, then you're going to be classified in a certain way versus the way that these other folks are classified when they're doing the shouting, right? The rules apply to them, you and not to them.
Exactly.
But it's a good question that I want to take under advisement. I mean, I think we have a role in maybe collectively rallying individuals behind a simple premise or a simple call to action. And maybe it's time that the audience at SuperTalk 99.7 WTN offers a little bit of actual physical support for our lawmakers and for our state. And we stand on the Legislative Plaza as an example and say, no, we push back on this nonsensical narrative that we are a racist state. We push back on this ridiculous narrative that we're living somewhere in the 1940s. We do not live there. We do not believe these things. We do believe in the rule of law, and we do believe that our state is a good and welcoming place to live.
I would love that. I would participate in that. I would spread that opinion and hope that that would become something, because this is disgusting what they're doing. And when Gloria Johnson stood right there on national TV and called everyone on that committee a racist, I literally about fell through the floor. And, you know, and my voice doesn't get to be heard.
Terry, I'm going to take your words quite seriously, to the point that I'm going to open it up to the listening audience and ask them, you know, is that something that they want to see happen? I appreciate that you do, and I thank you for the call today. You know, Terry just inspired me, a little fire in the belly there. That my new state and my region of the country and our world, we're under assault. Already you have the President of the United States of America explaining to us that if you voted for Donald Trump, that you are racist. I mean, you want to hear the clip? I'm not exaggerating. I'll play it. And now you have sitting lawmakers telling us that our representatives that we voted for are racist, and by extension that we are racist in and of individually. Our state is under assault. Is there anything that we can do about it, and would you participate? 615-737-9986. It's 131 on SuperTalk. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. I was just watching a Twitter video from New York City where an individual gets shot down in cold blood at a smoke shop. Group of individuals standing around. I mean, this came from James Woods. If you're not following James Woods on Twitter, you're doing it wrong because James Woods is a good follow. But this is from just the dystopian hellscape that New York City has become. An individual walks into a smoke shop, a cannabis store, I assume that's what it is. And there's several people standing around, and it's surveillance video, so there's no audio on it. Guy walks up to the counter, happens to be white, and everyone else in the room happens to be black. I don't know if that had anything to do with this. I have no idea, but I'm just identifying it for you. And the guy talks to the guy at the counter, says something to one guy, talks to the guy at the counter, is served like he buys something at the counter, starts to walk away, turns around, looks like he's asking for a light. So maybe he's lighting up a cigar or a cigarette or a joint. I don't know. And the guy that's standing next to him just pulls out a gun and shoots him in the head. The guy falls. Everybody else runs. And the guy walks over to the guy. He's kind of moving a little bit, and he shoots him again in the head. Execution style. And then walks out of the... These are the type of people that Alvin Bragg says that he's going after while he spends his time trying to prosecute Donald Trump. It is disgusting. It's hard to watch, and this is the reality in the United States of America. There are things, and I don't mean to sound like a grumpy old man on a front porch. By the way, did I reintroduce myself? I'm supposed to do that. It's Matt Murphy. It's the Matt Murphy Show. Some of the things that I see in this country, I mean, I remember when I was a youngster watching some of the unrest in the Middle East, watching the riots in the streets. Even, I remember distinctly around the age of 8 or 9, maybe 10, sometime in that zone, watching on television, there was something going on in some European countries. I don't really know where they were. Maybe it's the former Soviet Union. I don't know. But a lot of rioting in the streets and violence in the streets and people protesting back and just pushing police back. And I remember as a child thinking how happy I was that we lived in America. I remember this because that doesn't happen here. That doesn't happen here. Well, now that happens here. And the Bullhorn Trio wants it to happen more here. You see, what they are advocating for is lawlessness. What they are advocating for is that their emotions supersede the power of the rule of law. And I'm wondering if we collectively cannot come together and defend our state and the rule of law and defend these lawmakers that are working to preserve it. Sean is next up in Lebanon. Hey, Sean, how are you? Sean. Hello, Sean. Sean? Hello, Sean. Mm-hmm. Yes. No.
Hey there. Sorry.
Oh, hey, there you are. I thought I was just talking to myself for a minute. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Sorry, was in a dead spot, man. As always, thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Last hour, you had Miss Jessie call from Maryland, and she absolutely hit the nail on the head. And as somebody who was transplanted to Middle Tennessee from the Chicago area, we moved to Tennessee for the reason that the state's values more aligned with ours, and again, to see the efforts, as she put it, of people trying to change the state of Tennessee and control it better. She absolutely hit the nail on the head. Coming from an area and having worked in law enforcement for 30 years and working up north, naturally everybody wants to jump on, the gun legislation bandwagon and what have you. The issue we have is we have these DAs or state's attorneys, depending on where you're from in the country, that will not or hesitantly pursue charges in certain cases because of their ideology or their political leanings. I had cases when I was up north as a homicide detective where we would have both offenders live, after a gang shooting, and the Cook County State's Attorney would reject charges due to mutual combatants. And I know we've heard that in the news before, and people roll their eyes and are like, God, that can't be possible. It's absolutely 100% accurate. And, I even at one point, there's still a statute on the books in Illinois for dueling. And it's a class 4 felony up there. I said, fine, charge them with dueling. I don't care what you charge them with. Let's charge them with something. They're gang members and they're putting the rest of the community at risk because of their antics. But, of course, that got laughed out. But, when you talk about the Tennessee 3, and again, I don't even want to give them a title because it just leads, gives their antics more credit. They're doing everything they can. Like you said, Good Morning America this morning. Watch the press conference that Metro had with Chief Drake and with the officers that were involved. And Chief Drake has done a phenomenal job. I mean, everything that the department's done, his press conferences, you can hear the emotions in the man's voice. But watch the officers that were involved and the body language and the hesitancy of even wanting to be in the spotlight. And that's what we should be.
Well, it's one of the and it's a good point, and it's one of the reasons that I've not focused on the fact, although I made mention of it, why aren't these officers on Good Morning America? Now, they may have been invited, and they may have politely declined because it seems to be in their nature, based on the press conference that I watched, that they wouldn't want the spotlight to be on them. But at the same time, we should be focusing on the heroism of those officers, not on the lawlessness of these 3 individuals in the Tennessee legislature. And make no mistake, what we are watching, Sean, you and I, is a media celebration of lawlessness. They're celebrating the insurrection that they once condemned.
Yes, absolutely. And you look at, and again, Davidson County is a different animal and what have you, but there was even schools in Davidson County that I know firsthand that were having a memorial service last week, and I forget the exact date, to be honest with you, for the 7 victims of the Covenant shooting. And my eyebrows shot open the minute I heard that, and they kind of nodded and they said, yes, that's exactly how they worded it, the 7 victims. And, yes, 7 people lost their lives, but one of them lost them because of their own damn actions, and I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it, and that's an offender. That's not a victim.
Well, and you bring up, and thank you, Sean, for the call. Sean harkens back to the several days after this incident happened, individuals standing in the rotunda were holding up 7 fingers, not 6, to remember that. Excuse me, why are you holding up 7 fingers? Oh, there's 7 victims. No, there's not. There's 6. And there's 1 POS that's in the grave. That's not a victim. That's a perpetrator. By the way, Duffy has, I don't know if Duffy's challenging me or not, but Duffy says, I'd like to hear the Biden clip. All right.
Much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
So, in that clip, and that's just the first one that I could pull up, I can find you more if you want it. Oh, the MAGA Republicans are a threat to our democracy. Not everybody's a MAGA Republican, but they're dominated by the MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican, not even a majority, but they dominate the Republican Party. So you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, but you're saying the same thing, that the Republican Party is a threat to democracy. And by extension, what is that threat? So is it a threat to democracy that a body like the House of Representatives abides by the rules that they themselves agree upon? Or is it a greater threat to the democracy that the mainstream media today, this day, is celebrating the lawlessness of these three, the Bullhorn trio. I go back to it. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting and willing to listen. What did they want? What did they want? You have every microphone at your disposal out of the floor of the House of Representatives to make any sort of tirade you want to make about gun control or gun violence or the Second Amendment. No, but you went to the well of the body, broke the rules, disrupted the body, and acted in a disorderly fashion against the rules. What did you want? What was your purpose, if not to elevate yourselves above the Covenant 6? Tennessee 3, my butt. Tiffany's in Franklin. Hey, Tiffany. On that happy note, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Good. I just wanted to call in and agree 100% with Terry that phoned in earlier. I kind of thought the exact same thing. I've made a post on Instagram, a post on Twitter, but what else can we do? That would be great if you could research that and give us some ideas, because our voice isn't being heard, and I just don't know what and where to have a voice.
Well, no, I'm considering it. I'm thinking about it, and I want to be careful in that consideration, because I do think that there is a groundswell of people like Terry and Tiffany and so many others that want to demonstrate not just to the state of Tennessee, but to the rest of the world, that we are not as described by these ne'er-do-wells that are getting all of the attention, that we are not defined by them, and that we are a people that enjoy and celebrate individuals living a life of their own choosing, but at the same time, you must abide by the rule of law, and you must respect the will of the majority in the representative republic in which we live. There's a way for us to do this, and I'm going to carefully consider it, and I hope that when we figure it out, you'll mobilize with us, Tiffany. I know you will.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I heard the speaker on your program, well, not your program, I think it was somebody else, but I heard it directly from him, what happened, and everybody else, I mean, most of the comments were from the left and how racist and hateful everybody is, and I just thought they obviously don't know the whole story, but they just keep talking very loudly. Usually the people who talk very loudly are the people who are either in the wrong or hiding something, or, that's just usually the rule, but it'd be nice to have a voice somewhere.
Tiffany, you keep listening, and we're going to figure this out. Because if there are enough of you that want to mobilize in some form or fashion, I don't consider myself an activist, but I will certainly help facilitate action. And if that is the definition of activism, then so be it. But I do think there ought to be a demonstration that most of Tennessee disagrees with this. Pardon me. A little sneeze there. Very violent.
Was it? Startling.
Woo! Got to get it out. That's getting the demons out. So, yes, we will we'll keep that on our minds. In the meantime, later on today, for those who do not know, the Metro Council will meet. Now, originally, and I tried to get Councilman Swope. By the way, just a programming note, originally we had Heidi Campbell scheduled to come on today. Heidi is a sitting senator, Democrat, and she's recently announced her candidacy for mayor. We rescheduled that for this coming Friday. I attempted to communicate with Councilman Robert Swope, who's the one councilman that I'm on speaking terms with in the Metro Council. And I have not heard back from Robert, but it's my understanding, as it was described to me last week, and I could be wrong. I admit that I don't have a command of the council's rules, but it's my understanding that per their rules, there's like a 3 or 4 week period between the time that they take up consideration to vote on something like this before they actually vote on it. You have to have multiple readings, and that they would need to almost unanimously suspend the rule in order to vote today to replace Justin Jones with Justin Jones. And I believe my understanding of this is that it takes only like 3 in the body to object. And I'm wondering if you would have 3. And if 3 object, that's going to delay this for a number of weeks. That's our best case scenario right now, by the way, that this get delayed. It's 1:51. No delay on this. Got to go to a short timeout, but back presently with your calls on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
One of the big words being thrown around in the investing world right now is this one. You may have heard it. Fiduciary. The idea that the investment advisor has to keep your interest first when they give advice. Now, it's being used in a marketing sense right now, and one of the things that I found fascinating, there was a study by the University of Southern California and Indiana University. They looked at investment advisor portfolios and they found that they were making basic academic mistakes in the management of their own portfolios. And the question that they asked was, if they can't even keep their own best interest first, how are they going to keep your best interest first? That was the question. Now, one of the things that we do at Paul Winkler Inc. is every one of our offices, 10 offices, is run by a degreed planner, number one. But we go way beyond the call of duty when it comes to fiduciary and making sure that we're using academically sound principles in investing. Evidence-based. In other words, a lot of this is backed by Nobel Prize winning research. To learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the Matt Murphy Show, closing out hour number 2. But never you fear, there's another one to go. Happy Monday to you. It's our episode 316 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Chris Webber, do you avail yourself of Facebook at all?
Yeah, I'm a Facebook member, I guess you'd say.
You follow the Dan Manda Show Facebook page?
Oh, yes, I do.
Have you seen the latest?
I have. Only Dan Mandis.
Why are they in there to begin with?
Have you had some protesters drop by and they get a little rowdy?
I don't know. If you wonder what we're talking about, go to Facebook, go to the Dan Manda Show page, and look how Dan's spending his afternoon. And you think listening to this show is bad? You'll feel better about yourself. Say that. 159 SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories, and what a gorgeous start to the week it is. 70 degrees and sunny, and I think we got a lot more clear sunny days ahead this week. Finally, right? Weather coming up in just about 3 minutes. Starting in Louisville, Kentucky with the latest on the deathly shooting that took place this morning. Daria Albinger.
A bank in Louisville, Kentucky was the site of the nation's latest mass shooting. This man was in the conference room where the shots rang out.
We heard a click, and the lady next to me turned around and said, "What the hell?" And then he just started shooting.
At least 5 people are dead, a number of others hurt. Here's ABC's Aaron Katersky.
An officer is now undergoing surgery and in critical condition. A second officer who responded to the scene sustained a non-critical injury. The LMPD was on the scene within 3 minutes of getting the call, and the governor and police credited those officers with saving lives.
An emotional Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear speaking to reporters.
I have a very close friend that didn't make it today. And I have another close friend who didn't either, and one who's at the hospital that I hope is going to make it through. So when we talk about praying, I hope people will.
As of today, there have been 15 mass shootings nationwide just this month.
And at least 9 are hurt in that shooting. Right now in Nashville, a flyer going around says today will be a, quote, day of action for more gun control rallies and to support the 2 Democratic state representatives expelled for breaking House rules of decorum to lead anti-gun rallies on the floor. 3:30 at Metro Plaza, then 4:30 at the Metro Council meeting where former District 52 State Rep Justin Jones could be reappointed to the seat from which he was expelled. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac reports.
So far, 23 of the 40 Metro Council members have gone on the record saying they are planning to reinstate Justin Jones at today's special called council meeting. All it will take is half.
And after the council meeting, there will be a march to the state capitol. And staying in Tennessee, Eagleville will be building a safety facility to support the growing Rutherford County community there. It will include a 24/7 fire hall, along with a brand new police station, plus a municipal court. Mayor Lehman says that the town has needed this project, quote, for a long time due to the city growing and the first responder unit growing along with it. Mayor Lehman said they're hoping to open the building by July of next year. And that is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Here we are. Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Radio Show in progress right now, 2:05. Thank you for being with us. Spend some time with us. Settle in for a moment or two. We'd love to hear from you. Either passively, you can listen, or actively, you can participate by joining us on the phone line, super text line, or joining us on any of the social media platforms where we represent. That would be Twitter, Facebook, all kind of play. I think there's an Instagram page. I'm not really sure. I don't do a lot with Instagram, although I think I have an account. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch via SuperTalk TV. You can also find us on the phone line, 615-737-9986, as we continue exploring the news of the day on this Monday, April 10th. Now, obviously, the Bullhorn Trio taking a lot of the oxygen out of the room. We're monitoring a developing story where 4 individuals, it was reported 5, but it's 4 individuals, I misreported it at the beginning of the show, and it's my apology. Some of these stories, obviously, in breaking news situations like this, there's, you get misinformation on occasion. Sometimes that misinformation gets repeated. It is in good faith that we attempt to give you the latest information that we possibly can, and in some cases, that info turns out to be wrong, and all we can do is tell you that it was wrong. So when I came on air, it was being reported that 5 were killed. Now it's 4, at least 9 injured in the Louisville bank shooting. 2 police officers are among the injured. 1 of those police officers is in critical condition. I believe that there is an update on the mass shooting very soon, and when that happens, we're going to go there for a couple of minutes just to update you on exactly what we know about the situation. Officers arrived at the shooting scene within 3 minutes and neutralized the threat in some form or fashion, either through shooting the assailant or through forcing him to take his own life. That said, it is believed, as we speak, that this is a workplace violence situation. By that, we mean this individual was either a current worker at the bank or a former worker at the bank, and he was targeting known individuals to him for some reason unknown to us. It was not more of a random mass shooting type that we've seen over the years, over the last 10 or so years, where someone walks into a Walmart and begins shooting, or obviously 2 weeks ago today, we had that situation right here in Music City where a crazed, evil individual walked into the coveted school where she had once attended and began firing indiscriminately there, too, killing 6 individuals and then eventually being killed herself. I mentioned last week, and several of you have asked me because maybe you missed it or you just wanted me to repeat it. The information that I got late last week by a couple of sources who choose to remain anonymous, and you'll understand for obvious reasons, but many of you are curious about the motivations of the shooter, and I understand that. There is a lot of debate about what is holding up this quote-unquote manifesto. Robert Swope said we'd have it by last Monday, and if not, he would demand it. That is a Metro City councilor. No word on where he is on it, and no word on when we will find out some of the pieces of the puzzle that we can put together to try to figure out the motivations of this individual shooter. But here's what I found out. I mean, where's the manifesto? I mean, it's the easiest thing to ask. Now, I don't like calling it a manifesto because I think it gives it more gravity and weight than it deserves. But certainly we have an understanding of the motivations of the shooter within this document, do we not? And is it not the right of the people to understand these types of things? But I want to go back over this in the wake of that question. And I wrote it down. It's number 7 on my list today. Where is the manifesto? And why have we not seen it? Who's responsible for holding this up? Now, I have it that it is the manifesto or some of that material went to Quantico and then came back to Metro Nashville. That's what I was told. It was the FBI that was holding that information. Now, while we consider that, I believe this news conference is about to start, and we want to join a little bit of this.
There's a report of shots fired at Old National Bank. Officers were on scene within 3 minutes. The suspect shot at officers. We then returned fire and stopped that threat. The suspect is deceased. This is the only time that I will mention the suspect name in this case. The suspect has been identified as Connor Sturgeon. white male, 23 years of age, who was employed at Old National Bank. His weapon of choice was a rifle. We have 5 total deceased, which includes him, but I want to acknowledge with heartfelt condolences, prayers to the family of those who lost their life today. Tommy Elliott, 63 years of age. Jim Tutt, 64 years of age. Josh Barrett, 40 years of age. And Juliana Farmer, 57. We have a total of 9 victims who were treated and are being treated at University of Louisville Hospital. 3 which are in critical condition, including our officer. 3 who are listed in non-critical condition, and 3 who have been treated and released. The 2 officers who were struck in exchange of gunfire, one of the officers, he was grazed to the left side, and the other officer suffered minor injuries to the elbow. I just want to let everyone know that the officer who is in critical condition today, Officer Nicholas Wilt, 26 years of age, just graduated from the police academy on March 31st. I just swore him in, and his family was there to witness his journey to become a police officer. He was struck in the head, engaged in this incident. Nick has come out of brain surgery and is in critical but stable condition as we speak. I've been down there with the family and given my love and support. Been with all of the families today to show our love and support for them. And if anything else that they need from LMPD, we will provide that. The next few days are important and very critical for Nicholas's recovery. This will be a long, complex investigation involving local, state, and our federal partners. I'll be remiss if I did not acknowledge our federal partners who have just been outstanding, our local partners, ATF, FBI, I thank you. Our local partners, University of Louisville Police, EMS, Emergency Management Services, thank you. Thank you for everything. And for my LMPD officers who took it upon themselves to not wait to assess everything, but just went in to stop the threat so that more lives would not be lost. Thank you. Thank you for showing up, even when sometimes you are just felt like you're not appreciated. But I asked my officers when I addressed them today, if we don't do it, who will? And so they're very committed, and their resiliency showed today, and their professionalism showed today. I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the mayor, who has been with us every step of the way through this trying and critical time. But I want to encourage the public, if you have any additional information, please call 574-LMPD and assist us. This should not continue to happen. Evil should not try to prevail and take over our city, and we let it happen. So I'm encouraging everybody that we unite and that we continue to do the good work, and LMPD will continue to keep this community and this city safe.
All right, that is Police Chief. Well, let's stick it right here, just in case he has some more relevant information.
Today is a day that's
Mayor of the city, Craig
heartbreaking for our
Greenberg.
city, for all of us, and especially for the people who are in that office at Old National Bank and their loved ones. We just heard the chief give the names of the people who lost their lives in this mass shooting this morning. One of them was Tommy Elliott, a very good friend of mine, of the governor's. To Tommy's family, to the families of Jim Tutt, Josh Barrett, Juliana Farmer, Rachel and I join you and families across our entire city and beyond in grieving this shocking and painful loss of your lives. The chief, the governor, myself, we visited in the hospital this morning with several of their families to offer them our support and our love during this unthinkable day. We will continue to offer our support and love and anything else we can provide to help them. We were also there, along with several of my colleagues from Metro Council, to thank and support the officers of LMPD for their heroic work today and every day. And say thank you to the new graduating class who was there to support their colleague, Officer Will, as he continues to fight for his life. Let's be clear about what this was. This was an evil act of targeted violence. And to add to that tragedy, a few blocks away, shortly after this happened, another man lost his life and a woman was shot in a completely different act of targeted violence. The two incidents appear to be entirely unrelated, but they both took lives. They both leave people scarred, grieving, and angry. I share all of those feelings myself right now. This is really difficult for all of us across the entire city to process and accept. I ask that we respect the needs of the families and loved ones of the people whose lives were lost today, and the people whose lives will never be the same. I'm a survivor of a workplace shooting. To the people who survived, whether you were physically hurt or not, I know that you're hurting too. We are here for you as well. To the survivors and the families, our entire city is here to wrap our arms around you. We've set up a family assistance center through the Red Cross to provide support and services to those families today and in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead that we know will be challenging. To provide you with whatever you need to deal with the trauma of this moment. The same applies to our police officers and first responders. Our city is here for everyone impacted. We are a strong city, and we will be here for support. As the chief mentioned, our LMPD officers went into that building knowing that they were risking their lives to save other lives. And that's exactly what they did. They exchanged gunfire with the shooter. To Officer Wilt and his family, we will continue to pray and support you. To the other two LMPD officers who were injured, thank you and all of your colleagues for your service today and every day. I also want to thank all of our other first responders, fire, EMS, Jefferson County Sheriff, state and federal agencies that are helping us at this time. And to Dr. Smith, to you and all of the other doctors and nurses and team at U of L Health for your work today and every day, you too are saving lives in our city, and we thank you. For the rest of us in our city, let's hold each other close and provide comfort where we can. That's what we've done in the past, and that's what we must continue to do now. We've already received offers of assistance from people across this city and country. Thank you. By the end of the day, we'll be providing specific information on how to provide donations to those impacted today if you would like. We will also have more information by the end of the day about a community-wide vigil for the targeted acts of violence that happened today and any day in our city. We will continue to move forward with strength, with prayer, with love, support, and determination. Thank you all. I'm now going to turn it over to Governor Andy Beshear.
We're gonna break away briefly, and we'll continue to monitor the situation with Governor Andy Beshear stepping up to the microphone. That was Mayor Craig Greenberg of Louisville, Kentucky, offering solace, obviously prayers, and an update on those who are critically injured in the event that happened earlier today. What we learned from that: 4 are dead, 9 injured. 1 police officer is critically injured with a shot to the head. An officer that just was sworn in days ago to be an officer on the force, and the interim police chief there speaking rather emotionally about that fact. But we do know that this was a workplace violence issue. In other words, that the individual responsible, I wrote his name down, but I'm not going to say it. The individual responsible was an employee of the bank in Louisville, Kentucky. There's your update. A lot of that language sounds very, very familiar to those of us from Nashville, Tennessee, who experienced the violence that occurred 2 weeks ago at the Covenant School. It's 2:21 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Hey, there's a big event coming up on the 17th of this month with LT360 and you. You know, it says so much about what LT360 does in terms of getting you off of pharmaceuticals and getting you back to a holistic health journey with Dr. Underwood. Coach Scott's so good at helping you understand the 5 pillars of good health, of cellular health, that include things like hydration, that include, obviously, eating the right way. Not food prepackaged for you, but eating food that you buy at the grocery store, but eating correctly. In other words, you can do this on your own, and it is a life's journey. It's not a diet journey. They're not a diet plan. They're a life plan. And LT360 can truly help you transform your life. If you go to LT360 right now, as a matter of fact, I'm doing it as I speak. You go to their website and you'll see a sign up for their big discussion, dinner and discussion, this April 17th at 6:30 p.m. As always, they're in Williamson County. Within the sound of my voice, you owe it to yourself to be there, to ask questions, and to sign up on your life transformation journey. LT360.com. That's LT360.com.
We hear the latest from Kentucky officials on the mass shooting that took place today in Louisville. We hear about the victims, the suspect, and all of their conditions right now.
Yeah, thank you, Mac Maury. I'm watching Governor Andy Beshear get emotional as he talks about the shooting victims, 4 of whom were killed. There are 9 other shooting victims that are currently in the hospital, 3 of them in critical condition. And the governor describing that one of the individuals that was killed was, and I'm quoting him now, one of my closest friends. Now, this does not make this case any more tragic, or certainly no less tragic than any of the other shootings that we discuss from time to time on this show, except to say when the governor is speaking, as he is currently, and he gets emotional describing the friendship that he had with one of the victims, it's that died just this morning. It gets to you like it would get to you when anyone steps to the podium and makes that description. The gunman, who I will not identify other than, I'm not going to identify him by name, but he's dead now, is accused of killing 4, injuring 9 others. Police are saying that the gunman walked into the Old National Bank in the downtown area and shot and killed 4 people and injured 8 others before dying in a shootout with police. He had worked as a summer intern for the bank for 3 consecutive years and eventually joined as a commercial development professional in 2021 and a full-time associate and portfolio banker last year. That is according to his LinkedIn account. The gunman was a graduate of the University of Alabama and earned a Master's of Science in Finance. And as a side note, his father is a former basketball coach at the University of Indianapolis, led the team from 1992 to 2007, including 5 NCAA tournament appearances. So it was said that he was currently a U.S. history teacher at the Floyd Central High School in Indiana. Now, the language of this New York Post article I don't know if they're talking about the father or the shooter, but he was an ex-employee, full-time associate and portfolio banker of that bank at some time. So that press conference is ongoing. We'll continue monitoring that situation. Speaking of medical conditions, we had the Masters this past weekend. And Tiger Woods, one of the most well-known athletes, one of the most well-known people on the globe. And obviously, his medical issues are well documented. Did you guys hear why he had to withdraw from the tournament?
I did not hear that.
Plantar fasciitis or something?
That is one of them.
Okay.
According to a report, now he had plantar fasciitis several months ago, and that's a recurring issue. It's extreme pain on the heel. I've had it once. And so there were awful weather conditions, and his right leg was shattered. He had a compound fracture in 2 places in his right leg when he had that accident. For any other human being on the planet, I think they would have amputated their leg. But they desperately tried to save Tiger Woods' leg, and they did. And he famously said when he was asked, do you think you'll play golf again? He said, all I cared about in the hospital was being able to walk so I could play golf with my son. I didn't even care about playing golf on the professional tour anymore. I just wanted to be able to play golf with my son. And that humanized him to many people that hated him previously even. It's now being reported by Jason Day, one of his fellow golfers, that the reason he had to withdraw from the tournament is that because of the nature of the walk, that one of the screws that holds the bars in his leg had become detached and broken through the skin.
Oh.
That is the exact reaction from everyone listening to what I just said. That's just
that visual is just
gives you the willies, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that there were a couple of Tiger haters on the troll social media, the Twitter, going, "Oh yeah, Tiger's not gonna win, so he leaves. He's withdrawing. He won't even finish." Yeah. Apparently, he had a screw popping through the old leg there.
It's not usually what you mean when you say you've got a screw loose.
That's true. That's true. Or that you got screwed.
Well, yeah, that too.
That's tough, boy. Anyway, so there's that update. When we come back, I want to update you on Bud Light. As you might expect, Bud Light's taking it a bit as they say in the short hairs when it comes to the reaction from their newest influencer on social media. We'll talk about that next. It's 2:30 on SuperTalk.
2:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 72 degrees, a beautiful day on Music Row. Got a weather forecast headed your way in just a few minutes. Kentucky officials just spoke for the first time, still speaking right now. Currently, Dr. Jason Smith is the chief medical officer at University of Louisville Health, but we've heard from the governor, the mayor, and the police chief there in Louisville. They provided some updates right now into that mass shooting that happened there this morning. 4 people are dead, 9 injured, 3 of which are in critical condition. The suspect was a 23-year-old white man and was employed at Old National Bank. He started an intern for several years until being fully employed. The weapon used was a rifle. And here's interim police chief in Louisville, Jacqueline Gwynn Villarreal, who's discussed one of those 3 victims who's in critical condition is a policeman in the city.
The officer who is in critical condition today, Officer Nicholas Wilt, 26 years of age, just graduated from the police academy on March 31st. I just swore him in, and his family was there to witness his journey to become a police officer. He was struck in the head, engaged in this incident. Nick has come out of brain surgery and is in critical but stable condition as we speak.
A family assistance center through the Red Cross has been set up for the coming weeks, and that'll be able to help all those families that have been affected in this tragedy and for the rest of the community that's been impacted as well. And a community-wide vigil is going to take place sometime soon, probably this week. And former Tennessee Representative Justin Jones, one of the 2 former representatives that were expelled due to breaking House decorum, may be reinstated tonight by the Metro Council, depending on if he receives enough votes. It would take a majority. So far, 23 of the 40 Metro Council members have said they plan to reinstate Jones. So by tomorrow, he could be back in his seat. Since both Jones and Justin Pearson were qualified voters in their respective districts, both can legally be appointed into their own seats and be reelected to them as well, according to the law. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
So it's grass cutting season, right? I mean, you're out and about, you're weed eating, you're, trimming the hedges, you're cutting the grass. As you're outside of your home, I encourage you to look at the paint job on the home and see if there's any places where there's chipping or there's mold or mildew on the paint job that you currently have, because that chipping and that mold and that mildew, that can lead to wood rot and can lead to more significant damage on your home. You need to protect your home and spruce it up and make it look nicer with a nice fresh coat of paint from Nashville Painting Company. Let's discuss, because it is exterior painting season. I don't know why, but as you're freshening up and you're doing spring cleaning, there's something about this time of year. You want a fresh coat of paint on that house, and Jeremy and his teams, I say teams, at Nashville Painting Company can certainly do that. They are artisans. They're craftsmen all. He hires them all, and, he doesn't subcontract out work. He contracts with his people to make sure that you get the job that you deserve. There's a supervisor on every job, professional estimates with exact scope and pricing, 3, 5, 7, and 10-year warranties available. The best brick painting warranty in Nashville. That's a 10-year warranty. It's all at Nashville Painting Company. NashvillePaintingCompany.com. That's NashvillePaintingCompany.com. 615-635-0350. 635-0350 for Nashville Painting Company.
One of the big words being thrown around in the investing world right now is this one. You may have heard it. Fiduciary. The idea that the investment advisor has to keep your interest first when they give advice. Now, it's being used in a marketing sense right now, and one of the things that I found fascinating, there was a study by the University of Southern California and Indiana University. They looked at investment advisor portfolios, and they found that they were making basic academic mistakes in the management of their own portfolios. And the question that they asked was, if they can't even keep their own best interest first, how are they going to keep your best interest first? That was the question. Now, one of the things that we do at Paul Winkler Inc. is every one of our offices, 10 offices, is run by a degreed planner, number one. But we go way beyond the call of duty when it comes to fiduciary and making sure that we're using academically sound principles in investing. Evidence-based. In other words, a lot of this is backed by Nobel Prize winning research. To learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN 237. A serious news update coming up on the police-involved shooting and the killing of 4 individuals and the wounding of 9 out of Louisville, Kentucky. The assailant has been neutralized, has been killed there. But very quickly, a more non-serious update. I don't know if on the fly, Chris, you could provide me for any theme music or a bed music, because I have a retraction to make on the Matt Murphy Show on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Maybe it just merits a careful contemplation and occasional silence. But I want to include you two, both you and Mac Moore back in the newsroom, in this reflective retraction, because I read a news story, and in my excited attempt to report breaking news to you, I have misreported some information.
Well, that's not good.
That is not. And so it is our editorial decision here on the Matt Murphy Show that, unlike the news organizations that, when forced to retract information, they bury it on page, 28B of the financial pages, we're going to make sure that we do it right here up front before the ink is dry on the misreporting. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Murphy here. In an abundance of due diligence to cover all the news that is fit to discuss on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, I recently reported to you a news item regarding a golfer by the name of Eldrick Woods, a.k.a. Tiger. In my reporting, I indicated that he had a physical screw manifesting itself exterior to the skin of his body, which led to his withdrawal from the 2023 Masters Golf Tournament at Augusta National Golf Club. This reporting has been found to be in error. No. It was, in fact, the 2022 PGA Championship in which a screw extruded itself from the flesh of his right leg.
Fake news.
Quiet, Mac.
Sorry.
Pardon me for the interruption. It is, in fact, plantar fasciitis, as was reported by our illustrious newsman, Mac Maury.
Gosh, that guy's so good.
Whose full name I would have given you, but I've forgotten his first name, so I have to use Mac, which doesn't sound very distinguished or newsworthy at all, but be that as it may. Ladies and gentlemen, we pride ourselves here at the Matt Murphy Radio Show on our accuracy. But more so, we pride ourselves on being forthright and honest when an error is made. We sincerely apologize to all of you, particularly you Eldrick Woods fans, We retract the comment and sincerely regret the error. Thank you. Matt Murphy and the entire team, Matt Murphy Radio Show. P.S. I suggest to you none of this would have happened had we our normal executive producer, Belle K.
yeah, that's good. Nice.
Chris Webber regrets the error. There you go.
At the end,
I was doing the story, and it said, I'm doing the story. Tiger Woods withdrew, yada yada yada. Jason Day, yada yada yada, and it's going on and on about the screw out of his leg, and then right at the end it said PGA Championship, and I'm like, what? I don't know. But thank you to the loyal listener who said, dude, I think that happened in 2022 on the super text line. Thank you.
Yeah. We need to just call out whoever wrote the story that you were reading. That's who's to blame. Here.
Just so frustrating.
Just poor writing.
I promise you that this is not fake news when I report this to you. So it was not happenstance nor a mistake that Bud Light went the direction that they did with regard to Dylan Mulvaney. Now, I'm not going to. You just had lunch, many of you, and you're probably having that 2:30 feeling right now. So I'm not going to inflict you with the details yet again of the Dylan Mulvaney Instagram post by which Dylan Mulvaney, this guy dressed as a female who seems to be mocking womanhood horribly. He's now a Bud Light spokesperson. He's getting paid to promote Bud Light, and he's in the bathtub with bubbles and all that. And people are scratching their heads wondering, what in the hell's going on? This is Bud Light, for goodness sake. I mentioned after the Kid Rock video came out that I don't know of any human being that epitomizes the average Bud Light drinker more than Kid Rock. And apparently this has not gone without notice by the officials at Bud Light. Allison Gordon Heinerschneid, or Sheened, whatever. Alyssa, who prefers pronouns she and her right there on her Instagram and Facebook feed, is the brand ambassador and vice president at Bud Light. And she has publicly explained their decision-making behind changing the nature of the brand to Bud Light. Now, understand something. Bud Light has not publicly commented since all of this went down. Not a word on social media. But I refer you to a podcast that Ms. Alyssa Heinerscheid took part in the build-up to Dylan Mulvaney becoming a brand influencer. And just listen to what she has to say about what she thinks of Bud Light drinkers.
I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
Fratty, out of touch humor. So I take it no more fart jokes, I guess, according to Miss Heinerscheid. Heinerscheid. I think I got it on only like the 9th attempt. So understand something. This brand has hired people at the vice presidential levels. The vice president of brand marketing for Bud Light is bought into this concept that anybody that's offended by any of this, anybody that thinks to themselves, well, you're not talking to me anymore, and walks away from it, you're the problem. You're the issue. If you don't want to accept this type of act, it reminds me of these brands that, because they get into positions of power, Disney has done this, right? Where they get into positions of power and they have lived their lives saying, I want a gay cartoon story, right? I want something that reflects me because they happen to be gay. I want a gay cartoon story. And so they finally get into a position of power at Disney. And they say, we are finally going to have a gay cartoon story. Yay, gay cartoon story, yay! And they do one, and it costs them millions of dollars to produce this gay cartoon story. And then they present it, finally, a gay cartoon story. And people say, I don't want that. No thanks. It's like no animosity. I just don't want to take my kid to the gay cartoon story. And their reaction is not, well, maybe we're getting a little too niche for the audience. Instead, they think, well, they're the problem. And they lash back out at you. They don't go back to the drawing board and say, well, maybe that's a little too focused and directed. Maybe we don't need to dump this into the laps of the viewing public that's really not ready. They don't want some political statement in their cartoons. They simply want to be able to take their kids to Super Mario Brothers or whatever happens to be out. Which, by the way, I'm told, I've not seen it, does not include any of this nonsensical wokeness that we've seen in recent stories that were designed for kids and was a wild success over the weekend.
It's getting great reviews, too.
Getting fabulous reviews, despite the fact, did you see where John Leguizamo said that he wasn't going to it?
That's a shame.
He
played Luigi, I think, in the original one.
And he was calling on everyone. Am I pronouncing his last name correctly, Chris? You think
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo.
Yeah.
I will not be watching Super Mario Brothers. They could have included a Latin character. I'm thinking, man, it's a cartoon, dude. I mean,
well, not to mention the character he played, Luigi.
Is that not an Italian?
That's an Italian. Yeah, Mario and Luigi are Italians, right?
I thought.
I mean,
you know what Mario and Luigi are? They're cartoons.
It's a video game character.
It's a video game character. You know what I'm outraged about? That they didn't have an actual gorilla playing Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's preposterous.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And what about that, what's his name, Bowser? Isn't that a turtle?
Or a dragon or something.
Or something like a dragon. Let's say a dragon turtle. They didn't have an actual dragon turtle? Well, despite John Leguizamo, or whatever the hell his name is, demand that you don't go to see the movie, it apparently was. Now, these woke factions, they live in their own bubbles. And because these companies want to be so inclusive, instead of allowing people to rise to corporate executive positions based on the merit and quality of their work, they have these inclusion hires. And when you get the inclusion hires, you get people like Alyssa Heinerscheid, who has decided as the first female to lead the largest beer brand in the industry that she's going to change the direction of the marketing of Bud Light. And now they're saying that if you're not inclusive, if you're uncomfortable with a guy demanding that you call him a girl and accepting that he is a girl, then Bud Light's not for you. And besides that, we're just sick and tired of that fratty, lowbrow humor type that's being attracted to our brand. Lady, have you not seen the popularity at the average frat house of Natty Light? Have you not seen Pabst Blue Ribbon became several years ago the beer de jour for the young urban set. Why? Was it because of its delicious flavor? I happen to enjoy Pabst Blue Ribbon. I also happen to know it's not the best beer in the world. But you know what it is? It's drinkable. It's cheap. It'll get you drunk. Unbelievable. But you know what? You guys do highbrow. I would think that you're going to have to get in front of brands like Heineken. Is that how you pronounce that? I think
close,
so. Yeah. That's close enough. Bud Light, you got a lot of work to do to get your brand above Heineken in terms of wokeness. Or remember Lowenbrow? Is that still around?
I don't think so. No.
Man, I was a kid. I watched those commercials. I thought only rich people drank that stuff. Because they would say, let it be Lowenbrow. No? Nothing? You don't remember that?
I don't remember
Oh,
that.
my goodness, man. Come on. All right, it's 2:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We're learning more about the suspect in this mass shooting in Louisville, Kentucky. We're learning more about the victims and those 3 that are still in critical condition in the hospital. We'll tell you all that we know right here at 3 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mac Moore.
It wasn't easy getting tickets for this game.
Yeah, not easy. Come on. Get to the hook. The biggest steak.
Steak and low and brown. Dolan.
Let it be low and brown.
Taste of a truly great American beer. Tonight, let it be low and brown.
Oh, yeah.
Here's to the chef. Here's to the bartender.
Man, oh man, I listened to those commercials when I was a kid, and I took them to heart, boy. And I became, let's just say, of drinking age. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But when it was made available to me, boy, if I had a pick, I went low and brow, and I took that low and brow, and I popped open that delicious beverage, and I took my first swig, and I spit it out. Who's got a Milwaukee's
Someone's been
best?
lying to me.
Oh, gross, Natty. That's nasty. By the way, yes, I know that Natty Light is owned by Anheuser-Busch. I get it.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So, look, more details coming up on this shooter and some sad details regarding the nature of what apparently this individual was trying to accomplish. Thankfully, it's being reported to me that all of his social media is being shut down, which is good news. There's a component to that you'll learn very soon. You'll learn some more news right now with Mac Maury. We'll be back tomorrow. Brian Wilson in The Drive coming up. Have a wonderful day, folks. So long.